Welcome to Real Estate Talk. We're tackling your questions about real estate. We got a good one today too, Courtney. The
Mm-hmm.
question is, how do I make an offer on a house?
Awesome. Let's talk about it. Number one, you got to be prepared to make an offer. How about that? That means getting a mortgage pre-approval. Pre-approval letter basically tells you how much the lender will loan you to buy a home. Most sellers really won't take your offer seriously without it. So this is a little bit of pre-work before you actually get ready to make an offer. You also want to learn about the local housing market by partnering with a fantastic agent. Is it competitive? Talk to your agent about local housing trends. Knowing the market and having a awesome agent to partner with you will help empower you to make the best decision and properly prepare to make an offer. That's the first step.
Great first step, but I think we're still in the sort of pre-game step with number two, which is
Definitely.
to know the basics of the offer. I used to think
Yes.
about this as a broker as really in three buckets: price, terms, and timing. Another
Mm-hmm.
best practice here, again, is to talk to your agent and maybe even go through the process of writing an offer before you're even really serious about a house yet.
Yeah.
Over coffee, just say, hey, can you bring a blank purchase agreement and walk me through what this is going to look like? It's going to have a lot of different things, obviously the offer price, down payment amount, the amount of earnest money you'll deposit, pre-approval letter, like you mentioned, Courtney, breakdown
Yeah.
of closing costs, offer expiration date. So there's a lot of things on there, but I think the more you go through the motions of getting ready for that, the more it won't be surprised when you fall in love with the house and want to write an offer on it.
Totally. One of the things that I like to do for my clients is I have this consult binder, right? And basically, it's a binder with, there's a couple of things, but the one that I want to highlight is an actual contract. And I highlighted in yellow those speed bumps that whether you're a first time buyer or you've bought 6, 7, 8 homes, you really need to know the speed bumps so that we are prepared to make this transaction as smooth as possible. So yes, read the paperwork, know the offer paperwork is so important. You know what? Number 3, and you kind of hit it on it, Joe, is decide what price you want to offer, right? Partner with your agent and your loan officer to figure out what loan terms are going to be favorable, what type of financing you actually want to employ here, how much money you actually want to put down in earnest money. And also, if you decide not to buy the home for any reason, that the contract really does give you the out, a sort of contingency so that you can get your earnest money back if you decide to terminate for whatever reason. And again, partnering with your agent and your lender are so crucial just to make sure that you're walking through this eyes wide open and you have a plan for any which way that the transaction may go.
Yeah, you mentioned something a couple different times, so I just want to double click on it, which is
Yeah.
on earnest money. So the simplest way to explain earnest money, I think, of course, correct me if you have a different way you explain it, but really is like a
Yeah.
good faith deposit where, when you submit an offer, there's a certain amount that's sort of customary in the market too, where it's saying, I'm submitting this offer, I'm putting, say, $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000 as good faith money to say, I am interested in pursuing this. I still have my contingencies on the deal, which we'll talk about in the next step.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to just get cold feet and back out. Otherwise, you would potentially get this earnest money deposit for the seller, right?
Absolutely. And I like that you use the word potentially.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes there are title companies, escrow companies that are holding these funds, and they're here to ensure that the parties abide by the contract. In some cases, there are attorneys that do that as well, if you're an attorney state. But it's really up to the parties to decide on the release of earnest money unless it's stipulated in the contract. And that's why you and your agent should know the contract.
Yep.
So what about
Okay,
number 4?
let's talk through some of those contingencies that I mentioned on number 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 big ones: mortgage contingency, appraisal contingency, and inspection contingency. The first 2 are really related to one another. The mortgage contingency is also known as a financing contingency or loan contingency. And it's really the fact that the lender, if you have a lender and if you're not paying cash, will need to go through a loan approval process that can include different parts of that process where You might hear your agent say, like, don't go buy a car while you're in escrow because that could
Yes.
potentially mess things up. You have an underwriting process. But basically, it's saying I have to go through, my lender needs to agree to all this. I need to go through the steps of securing the loan in order to buy this house. So it's a
Yeah.
contingency on the deal itself. The second is the appraisal contingency, which that lender will hire a third party appraiser to go through the property and make sure that they're lending at least on the amount that you agreed to purchase the property for, because they're fronting a lot of the money for it, no matter what your down payment is. They want to make sure it's a good investment for the bank. And if there's a discrepancy there, it doesn't always kill the deal on a contingency, but it could open up a new negotiation if they think like, hey, it's great that you agreed to $700,000, but we think it's worth $600,000. We got a little bit of an issue with this, and maybe it goes back to the negotiation table.
Yes.
And
That's,
then the
I
last
like how
one,
you said that.
sorry, go ahead, Court.
No. I like how you described that. It was really easy to digest to any person who's never bought a home.
And then the last is the inspection contingency. And this is probably the one that a lot of people are really familiar with because it's someone that the buyer hires, either from a referral or someone maybe an agent recommended. And it's another third party company that goes through the property and basically goes through this full checklist of a thorough inspection of the property, everything from the roof down to the foundation, and basically says, here's our assessment of the property condition. This is another point, and it maybe sometimes depends on the market, but often leads to another negotiation where I always, as an agent, went back to the phrase above normal wear and tear, where like there will be something wrong with every single property, no matter what. I don't care if it's
Yes.
brand new construction or the house however many years old. You're going to find something. That's why you hire the inspector to go through and tell you what those things are. And so, my advice usually is not to go through and really nitpick the really small things, but certainly if it affects and it's above that normal wear and tear of a property, you could potentially ask the seller to take care of those items for you, or maybe even give you a credit at closing to some of those. You can use that credit for either repairs themselves, maybe to pay your agent, maybe down the line if you want to buy furniture for your place. So different ways to negotiate, but that's usually what ends up happening after the inspection. Or you say, you know what, generally speaking, this place looks good, or at least the condition I thought when I first went through it, and we're ready to move forward with it.
Yeah. I am a firm believer that every single buyer should have an inspection done on a home. Point blank, period. It's so crucial. Even if you're like, no, I'm not going to ask for any repairs, it's important because, again, and we've talked about this, this may any issues with the home may mean that you're going to have to spend money after you purchase it, and you need to know that ahead of time.
I'm really glad you mentioned that because we saw right at the peak of the market, a lot of people waiving the inspection contingency. But maybe you also saw this, Courtney. I know I did, which was agents would say, doing inspection for informational purposes only. To say, just like what you said, I want to do an inspection, but I'm not going to come back to you with a laundry list of things that we want the seller to take care of. I always question whether or not, really, once you see the list, maybe you will want to ask for some things to be done. But I completely agree with you. You should always get the inspection done.
For sure. Okay, number 5, and this might be a little contentious. Write a personal letter to the seller with your offer. Now, let me pause. The purpose of this letter is really to focus on the features of the home, the amenities that you love, rather than any personal characteristics of yourself as the buyer, because there are some fair housing implications, especially if your letter reveals such protected characteristics like race and religion or family status. So you want to be really, really careful here. If you do decide to write a personal letter to the seller, make sure you focus on the home itself and kind of dial back any kind of personal references. I'm not seeing this as much right now because we are swinging more towards a buyer's market. And at the time of the recording, it's October of 2024. But it is still something very powerful. And sometimes if you couple, just a meaningful personal story with how great this home is, it could be a winning match with that particular seller.
Yeah, great guidance. And I have an easy one on the next one. Submit the
Yeah.
offer and then wait. Maybe add an additional step there, which is meditate or go out to dinner or do something to get your mind off of it. I
Yeah.
was always
Yeah.
super attentive, Courtney, during this
Yeah.
stage too, just because that's such a difficult part when you submit an offer and you're waiting to hear back on it, that
Yeah.
I would really over communicate with my clients during that phase to say, this is totally normal. This can be expected. I just texted the agent, basically some non-update updates as an agent, just to make
Yes.
sure everyone knows like this is normal,
Yes.
until it's not, and maybe it drags on longer than even we want it to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it's a small but really nerve-wracking step.
You know me, I am all about over communicating. So I think the non update updates is crucial to ease any anxiety that buyers may have at this time. Number 7, after you've waited for a little bit, you've touched base with your agent. Now it's time to negotiate. Maybe we have received a counter offer. Maybe we have something new, in your financing or in your life that you want to consider. Like, I think it's really important that when we get to this negotiation phase, once we've heard back from the seller, like understanding where will you bend a little bit and what are your non-negotiables so that you
Mm.
could really approach the negotiation kind of with respect and a cordial attitude. I mean, remember, the seller wants to sell and you want to buy. We have that in common, but there may need to be a little bit of give and take from each of you to reach an agreement. That too is also very normal. Okay. I think
Yeah.
both parties want to feel like, oh, I feel good about this and what we have negotiated here. I before I kick it over to you, Joe, I do want to talk about bidding wars, okay? Because there's ebbs and flows of the real estate market. I mean, we, especially during the pandemic, started seeing a lot of multiple offer situations. If you are competing in a multiple offer situation, you might want to consider changing some of your offer terms to make it more appealing for the seller. In some cases, the seller may come back and say, hey, Courtney, we received your offer. We are now in a multiple offer situation and we're calling for highest and best. That is going to be the time that you and your agent decide on, is there anything that you actually want to change to make it that much more appealing for the seller?
And then, of course, if they do agree to terms and you've agreed to the terms and you have a contract, it's time to
Yeah.
celebrate. Uh,
Yeah.
we're both brokers. So the actual moment when you have a valid contract in place, it's not necessarily text messages or phone calls between each other. It's when all parties have agreed. Every little change has initials next to it, and it's delivered back to the original signer. So that's usually the buyer in this case. And so, yeah, then it's really time to put your shoulders down and celebrate a little bit and understand that this is the beginning of another road, which is sometimes referred to as escrow. But it's certainly for as much as you are primary contract now, even if they accept backup offers, you are first in line. You get to go through the process of your inspections, which we covered earlier too. So really, I just encourage people to be like, take a night off and just celebrate this, with your family.
Don't necessarily take a full vacation at that time, though.
No.
Okay,
No.
I'm telling you this for because your agent is probably thinking it. You don't want to take a vacation at that time because you do want to be present at inspections and be able to really engage with your agent for sure. Great advice, Joe. Thank you so much. Check out even more helpful tips in the description box below. If you haven't liked this video or subscribed to our channel, be sure to do so. We'll be back with another episode to help you navigate the world of real estate. And make sure you drop some comments here below to let us know what burning questions you want us to address in the next episode. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.